So where'd you go riding this week?
Eagle Mountain, mostly.
Mostly Eagle Mountain?
Yeah.
I did a road ride because it was so warm.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Where'd you ride?
Just around Lehigh. Tour de Lehigh.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, we good? Let's go live. Welcome to Between Two Wheels. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. Now this is a live show, so it'll take a little bit of time for your comments to come up, but if you comment on YouTube or on Facebook, we're on two places right now. We're on my Facebook page, Stephen Bike, and we're on Eric's YouTube channel,
RideLabs.
RideLabs. So if you comment in either of those places, we'll see your comments, we'll pop them up, and we'll add you to the discussion because we have some great things to discuss today that I know a lot of us are passionate about. So, all right, let's have some fun. So, let's start out by talking about the big orange elephant. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Strava?
Strava. Okay. So, Strava has been in the news a lot recently. So
Not good news.
Not good news. There have been a couple of things that has come up for. And
so the thing I'm aware of is about the, people want to get out and work out, even, people who work on military bases around the world. And when they released the heat maps, basically it kind of revealed where our military bases are. So
because there were a bunch of people running where there shouldn't be anything? Is that what it was?
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's pretty easy to spot a strange shape of workout out in some, remote country. Like, why are all these people out there working out with their Strava app? So
yeah. Oh, we should have shared this to some of our mountain biking groups. Well, we'll do that after. But actually, I'll do that right now while we talk about this.
Jump on there.
Yeah, jump on there. We'll get some more comments on here. So that brings up the privacy issue, right? Oops, wrong page. Let me pull up the page. So Strava has a problem with privacy, right?
I mean, they do some stuff to protect your privacy. I know that. Like, you can put your house in a zone where they won't track exactly where you go from and return to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good idea, but I think you can get down to the block that you live on.
So I read another article that Strava has an issue that some researchers were able to, just using simple geometry, even if you have those privacy zones enabled, they could figure out, like, to the house where you were probably located. So, and I know that, like, historically people have had problems because let's copy this real quick. Because because people have seen where they live, and they'll come and you also post what you have, like what kind of bike you're riding.
Oh, shoot.
And so they will
I didn't think of that.
bike.
I actually had a funny situation one time. I was riding in Corner Canyon, and I was flying down Anns. If you've been on Anns, you'll know it's a two-way trail, and you shouldn't go too fast down it, but I was. And I was being careful, and I grabbed some brake on a blind spot, but I didn't grab enough, and I came around this blind spot, and there was a couple climbing, and I kind of hit the lady, and she
wasn't too
I didn't really hurt her. Like, I felt really bad. I said sorry like 20 times, and her husband just went off on me repeatedly, and I just kept apologizing, but finally I was like, okay, well, I gotta go. I don't know what else to say. She was fine. And I had said sorry. So anyway, on that ride, I went and made my whole account private. Like, the guy was so angry. I was afraid he was like going to try and hunt me down, using the who was riding near me Strava Labs feature. So yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing too, the flybys, right?
Flybys, yeah. That's
because you can go and you can see, like, if you have a negative encounter with somebody like you did, you can go find out and stalk this person and figure out, like, they go here all the time. So, I don't know, there's some privacy issues with Strava, and is it worth it? Is Strava worth it? So let's talk about we've mentioned one of the bads. Let's talk about some of the other bads. What are some of the other bad things about Strava?
Okay.
Do you have?
I know some. I mean, like, you get so competitive, and I think that for me, the competition on the uphill is really good because that helps me to try and stay in shape. But on the downhill, honestly, like, I want to push really hard and try and go really fast. And
Yeah.
what if I get hurt because I'm trying to beat my old downhill Strava time? Like, that's a danger. Another thing that, I mean, it's the same problem, but like in road riding, I know there are segments that they won't publish, like who's the fastest or what the fastest times are.
Yeah.
Like on dangerous segments, you can mark them as dangerous. So I guess that's good, but I was frustrated when I couldn't see how well I did on that segment.
Yeah, but the thing is, even if you mark it as dangerous, what usually happens, somebody goes and creates a new segment for the same thing, and then it comes back up, right? It's just kind of annoying that, And there have been lawsuits about somebody going way too fast down a hill, and I think it was at San Francisco, Bay Area, and hit a pedestrian and killed somebody.
Oh, wow.
So there are some real issues with the competitiveness of
That's
Strava.
bad. That's so sad.
So, all right, we don't have very many people watching us right now. That's too bad. We'll have to get some more comments on here because I know a lot of people have feelings about Strava. So
what does it create? Jerks. That's the other one we were gonna.
Jerks, yes. Because last week we talked about the wilderness area.
Right.
And we had so afterwards I was talking to my dad. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, if I had watched your show live, I would have told you, no, I don't want bikes in wilderness area because all they care about is going fast downhill or going fast anywhere. And they come around blind turns and...
I never do that.
Yeah.
Just kidding. I just said I did.
So they're like, and I admit, like, I like going fast. I think that when Strava first came out, like for the first couple of years I was using Strava, I really cared about, pushing my times.
Yeah.
And now, like, I've kind of mellowed out a little bit, I think, and are a little more careful.
That's good.
But I think that there are a lot of people.
It's fun. It's really fun to push that, though. But just be safe, right?
Yeah.
You can have common sense.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't take, you don't have to crash into someone to learn that lesson. So
yeah.
But I've learned that lesson, so I'm a lot more careful.
Yeah, and I want to bring up, like, there's an issue with those, like, pushing your best times on mountain bikes. This doesn't apply as much to road bikes because of the technology. Do you want to bring up Strava on the screen? We can show you this segment. So this is Rush. It's a very popular segment in Corner Canyon, and these are some of my fastest times down it. Now, if you want to look at the beginning, so we have the beginning selected, and you can see these are all the start locations for this segment. So doesn't that look silly?
That's terrible.
Right, and see, I didn't realize this until I upgraded to premium and could compare multiples.
I didn't even know it did that.
Yeah, so you can see, like, the green dot is the start of the segment, but it doesn't start me on the segment until different locations. And you can see that there are, like, 1, 2, 3, like, for my fastest time, there it almost looks like I'm, like, 3 switchbacks in before it even starts recording.
Yeah, that's
and you can, so the accuracy of your phone GPS just isn't accurate enough to, like, differentiate between these tight, twisty trails.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I actually learned about Strava is that they actually, if you are recording with your phone, will frequently throw out the data that your phone posts, a lot of the data, and rely on their models that they've built on that for that segment. If you're using like a Garmin product, my understanding is that they will actually keep those. So they have preference for certain devices that appear to be more accurate, but it's really a rough science. I mean, you're dealing with a bunch of data and a lot of inaccuracies. Mm-hmm. So
I think you shouldn't put too much stock in those, like, king of the hills going downhill. On uphill, when you're only going like 3 miles an hour,
that's probably easier to be accurate.
It's easier to be accurate, and there's less error. But that happens like where you saw that it started at late. The same thing happens at the end of segments too, where it may think that you've ended the segment far before, and I don't know if we can look at that. There may not be as much of a difference there at the end. Let's see if we can get there. But you can see Rush is a very fun, and like
look at that.
Thousands and thousands of people have.
Oh no,
that's
just your.
Yeah, so you can see, and then the last data point for all of these is, zoom in a little bit, and you can see that the original template that they used to create the segment has some funky GPS data. But yeah, so you can see there's a whole bunch of staggered ends. So you might.
So that is the end for all of those?
Yeah. So, and you can see there's like
yeah.
I mean, it could be as much as 10 seconds at the beginning and at the end, and on like a 2-minute segment that, or I think it's like a 4-minute segment. No, that's an 8-minute segment, so it's a longer one. But that's a lot of time. That's a significant amount of time to have vary. So
yeah, and you know, I did some experimentation with the data actually, and kind of wrote my own little parser that took the data points and calculated. I was trying to calculate distance and vertical, and it was very difficult to land on the exact same numbers that Strava was getting.
And she answers some comments.
Oh, we're not pulling comments in from YouTube.
Okay.
Dang it.
Sorry, everybody.
Here, this is the joy of live show. Let's see if we can pull them up out here. Well,
okay, so this is the live chat right here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got Petals and Plants from Tallahassee. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for joining. He says Strava is good. Nowadays, people can find you if they want with or without Strava. Strava is not the problem. People do bad things with or without Strava. Okay, yeah, that's true.
We can bring up the comments now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, technical issues.
Sorry about that. And thank you for the comments, and we'll get through these. This is great.
Let's talk, because we love your comments, and those are the best part of a live show. There's about a minute delay between when you comment and when we can actually bring it up on the screen.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
So yeah, so go ahead and continue on. Okay, Strava's good.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
Strava is not the problem. People will do bad things. I think that's a really good point, right? I think that like you get people who've been riding for a while, and they tend to be, I don't want to bash new people to the sport, but I think they're more familiar and they've had more run-ins with hikers and courses, and so they're a little more cautious. Yeah. And it's like a lot of new people to the sport because the sport is growing, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But the sport is growing so much that you get new people who aren't familiar.
I don't know. Would that be good, Petals and Plants? If you could send private messages, it'd be nice to hook up with someone that you rode with, like. You know, like, hey, bro, it was great to be out on the trail with you. Like, that's great. But then I think, you know, you might get some flame wars going, but hopefully not. I mean,
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they implement this feature for private messages, because they just implemented, like, posts that you can do a post without any activity.
That's true, yeah.
And upload, like, images.
Which, actually, they're also innovating on their messing with the way that your chronological order goes versus your
feed
more
is now
curated feed.
Try to figure out whose activities you want to see.
Yeah, which is frustrating. I don't like. I just want to see the exact chronological order for rides. So
yeah. Me too. Because for me, like, I want to see what people have ridden either today or yesterday, because that tells me, especially in mountain biking, what's rideable. Yeah. For road biking, it doesn't matter as much, but I still like to see where people are riding. Okay, say this. No,
it's great.
Thank you for the comment.
Keep them coming. That's great. Petals and Plants. This is awesome.
So, like for mountain biking, I want to know what's rideable and where people are riding. I think that matters to me.
Yeah, for sure.
So what are some of the good things? Like one of the good things that I like about Strava is that it helps me find people that I may have bumped into on the trail. Like we've talked about how that's a bad thing. It can also be a good thing.
Yeah.
Right?
It's been mostly good for me. I mean, I've found people that I've ridden with, and now we ride together and stuff, so it's cool.
Yeah, definitely. And one of my favorite features of Strava that, well, I don't know if it's my favorite feature. I like pushing myself and seeing how I'm performing over time. But I like the where you can track how many miles you have on your components. Have you used that feature at all?
No. I didn't know they had that. I wanted to write something that could do that.
Yeah. So it's amazing. You can go into your gear, and this isn't even a premium feature. You can do this for the free version as well. And you go and you add components to your bike, and if you select that bike for an activity, it'll show you how many miles you have on like your tires. Like I have my tires, my chain, and we'll talk about more about the expenses.
I really wish I had known about this feature last year.
Yeah,
as well as talk about.
So I track all the wear on my stuff on there. So and that's one of the great things that I use. Then one of the other positive features, and this is a premium feature, is Beacon. Have you used Beacon at all?
I mean, I've seen you send me the Beacon before.
And phone app. I have no. Let's see. Concerning the phone app, I have no clue.
Uses the Garmin.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, maybe Garmin is just like super way more accurate.
Well, so one of the things
I
is
don't have one.
the Garmin's have a barometer. They have an actual like altimeter in them, and so they like the GPS altitude accuracy is like 100 feet or something like that. So it's not very good.
Yeah.
Whereas a tuned barometer on like a Garmin is supposedly a lot more accurate. But
Well, so I compared the numbers of my phone, and I had a Fitbit watch, and I had this other watch. What was it? I can't think of the name of the watch right now.
oh yeah,
And just did the calculations, and every device produced wildly different numbers. So it's probably best the way Strava's doing it. Really, is they get enough rides through, and they build a model for what that segment should contain, and then they use that model against your data, and that's probably the best.
yeah. I think that is what they do. So, and then okay, so back to the beacon feature. I don't care about that feature as much as my wife does.
Oh yeah.
So if you have somebody that's waiting at home wondering if you are dead on the side of the road, that can be useful. And I know there are other ways that you can do it, but I like that it's integrated into the app because I'm always running Strava. So
I do something like that just with Google. I share my location with my wife. So
yeah, okay. So overall, is Strava good? Because it's definitely changed mountain biking and cycling, right?
I would have to say it's good because I'm going to keep using it, so it must be good.
Yeah, and I think so I started using it in about 2012. No, yeah, 2012, and I think since then, I was probably one of those jerk Strava users, but I think now I'm a lot more calm and relaxed about it.
That's good.
So I think overall it's good. And once you get over the initial, competitiveness. Yeah. So, okay. So let's move. Oh, let's see. The Garmin does temperature too. I wish I saw the temperature on my phone because
that would be helpful.
Because I've seen that on other people's rides that I've checked out to see the temperature.
Yeah, that's cool. Because sometimes you're like, no, this ride was worth way more. It was so hot out there, or so cold, or whatever. Yeah,
definitely. Okay, so let's switch over to some of the local issues that we've been having here because we had something funny happen on Facebook, didn't we?
Yeah. So out here right now we have a really bad snow year, but it's really slushy, sloshy everywhere where you normally ride, and so there's this one spot that is good, and some new spots are popping up that are also dry. But this one spot is called Eagle Mountain, as many of you know, and Eagle Mountain has some very dedicated trail builders out there, and I don't know him, but I know there's a guy named Cougar, and if you see this,
Cougar,
thank you so much. He's been building some incredible stuff out there, along with the community that has joined him. And recently, we've got this people coming from other areas now to check it out. And recently, this one person posted some pretty negative stuff about it. It was funny. It turned out to be funny, and it's fine. But I mean, I was kind of frustrated at first because it's such a great place. But
it brings up what trail system some person may like, another person may hate.
That's really true. And the other thing is the trail experience. You might get out there and you just see one trail and you get on that and it takes you past some, on some lame spot and you're just like, oh, that's Eagle Mountain, that's dumb. And, granted, maybe we need to, basically what you should do is find someone who's out there and ride with them.
Yeah.
And, hey, use Strava and try and hook up with someone and see who's out there. So there's some amazing stuff out there on the positive side. There's some really neat new trails.
Yeah, and if you get on the Facebook pages, you can find somebody that's willing to take you out there. So, and I think that riding with somebody who's ridden out there is a far better experience than using trail forks and trying to trailblaze, right?
Yeah, or look at it this way: take a few hours and just take it easy, take a lot of water, and cruise around and check it all out and see what you like, what you can bump into. That's really how I got familiar with Eagle Mountain, and I didn't really ride it much until last spring.
Yeah, last spring is
when I really started pounding it.
I'd never ridden out there before.
And yesterday even I rode with some other people I hadn't ridden with, and they showed me all these new things. And it's I've been riding out there for a year, and I didn't know about those things. So it helps to ride with people, really. So
Eagle Mountain. No, this is in Utah. So we're in Utah County right now, which is just south of Salt Lake, and this is west of the valley. So I'm sure though that there are similar problems in a lot of the trail systems around the country about how some people are crazy about them. like anytime Single Tracks does like a top trail of the state, you know, for each state, everybody's whining like, oh, I hate that trail, it's overrated, or no, it's the best thing
And
ever.
people have different experiences and have different preferences.
So tell me about some of these new trails that you found.
Okay, well, I mean, the only trail I actually found that someone was in the process of building was Backspacer, and that was, I'd say, like 3 weeks ago, or no, maybe it was a month ago, but that trail, we just noticed it as we were on a regular, more established trail, and so we jumped over to that, and it was really cool. And now I went on that again yesterday, and it's amazing now. Basically, it's just a really fun cross-country with some berms and a couple, like a berm that you can transfer over to another berm, so, you know, you jump out. And once you get out to the bottom, it's very deceptive. You think you're done with the trail, and if you ride a little bit farther, you end up dropping into this big ravine, so you can air down into the ravine, and you fly back out of the ravine, which is just a smooth rolling tranny, but you can just, like, you know, bunny hop into it. And the ravine is probably 6 or 7 feet deep.
I haven't ridden it yet, but I've seen some of the videos.
6 feet deep is my guess.
Looks like a lot of fun.
And then you ride that for a little bit, and then you can do a drop back into the ravine and pop back out. So it's just a blast. So that's a fun trail. Yesterday, I had never ridden Nirvana. That was a fun trail. Nirvana, it's cross country with some rocky stuff. And then, like, my new probably favorite trail out there is Creed. And Creed has some, it's way more flowy than Flintstone. If you've been out there, you know Flintstone is like the amazing
It's super
trail.
rocky, you know, fairly technical.
Really
it's got some
technical.
like flat drops where you're going flat, and then a flat landing as well. And as well, it's got to be at least a 9-foot drop on there, right?
Yeah, and
I haven't hit that one either. I've always gone around.
But the other drops are still, you know, a challenge. Like, you have to really focus and do it right, or you'll get hurt. So Flintstone is like the crazy trail, but Creed has some components of the technical aspect, but it has flow to it. And so I think maybe that's my new favorite trail is Creed, and that ends up coming out down by the school. If you've
definitely going to have to go out there and hit that up.
So check those out.
Yeah.
Wait, one more. The Farm.
The Farm.
And this trail, so you guys can all go steal my, I don't have a comm, but I was really close. I could get it probably today if I went. But if anyone's watching this, you'll probably go out there and get it. There's like only 4 people who've ridden it on Strava. And it's a well-built trail. And it's actually at the bottom of Flintstone. You go up the road so you're going south toward the mountain. And you'll see there's just a little trail there. And it kind of does like a figure 8 almost. Crosses itself. And it is so fun. So
you're gonna have to show me these.
Yeah, that's a fun
I'll
trail.
have to go biking.
I don't want to focus too much on local because we'll probably lose some of the interest of the people who don't live around here.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about like your experience the other day. About you had a first this week, right?
Oh. Dun, 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 dun. I've never been in a bike race before, so if you watch any of my videos, you'll see I just posted a video this morning. I was up late working on it, but the Frosty Fatbike race series. You told me about it last year. You tried to get me to go, and I've never raced, and so I was just too nervous, and I just...
Yeah, you've always told me, like, I can't go to these bike races because there are going to be all these guys, you know, that are super into it, and it's going to be too intense.
Yeah, I was stressing the whole day. Like, really stressed. You just have to...
20 years.
Yeah. So, just... it was so mellow. It was so cool. It was a great environment, bunch of nice people. You know, there was a little bit of weirdness and competitiveness that I like to stay away from. I see it in soccer. My girls are in soccer, and I see that there, and I hate that. But it was only a little bit there. Mostly, it was mellow and it was fun. And I absolutely loved this race. So I don't know if you've got any, if you can pull up the footage.
Yeah, let's pull up a clip from it.
Maybe from the start of the race for a little bit. So,
all right.
So here we are. We're getting ready to go, and all these little kids are just super excited.
Everybody else started at like 2, so that's really great.
Yeah, it wasn't night riders.
It was nice. It was crazy. They didn't have the course.
And that's the thing is, like, I don't know all this stuff about racing. I just realized that, okay, the smart guys were on the inside track. You know, I was like behind everybody, and then I managed to squeeze in over on the side. I should have been way more assertive about getting up on the inside track and moving the bar over so I could fit.
Yeah.
They just didn't have enough room between those bars.
No, they didn't. And so it was pretty much a whole gap or a whole jump. And if you weren't out front at the beginning, you kind of
yeah. But it was so fun. And one of my favorite parts, honestly, is coming up here where we did this thing where you ride around the course, and then when I was in the race, I realized we should just jump this, and so we jumped over this little grassy bank, and it's coming up so much bigger than I thought it would be.
I know, like I hit that, like in my practice run, I didn't see it. It's
right here,
there.
yeah.
Boom.
Boom, yeah. Oh.
That totally came up on me because it was in the dark.
I'm just glad I didn't get squirrely on that because that would have been ugly coming down in that grassy rock segment. So
and like after this, we hit, and this was just coming down a slope.
This was just open it up.
And this is where we hit 40 plus miles an hour.
40 and a half
on this choppy
chunk,
like
snow,
mashed potato snow.
Yeah.
So,
crud.
It was so much fun though. I wish I got there a little bit late, and so I wasn't able to do 2 practice runs. So what is this? This is what happens to me.
Well, in Mario Kart, I always feel like that. Like my kids take off, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I can make a move, I can catch up, and then boom, they're just out in front of me, and I'm like, there's no way I'm catching them. Like, so I just felt like I was in the game. Like, okay, you guys go win. I'll just be back here, making sure no one gets hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, and there were some crashes, but I don't think anybody got too hurt. So that was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, super fun. So glad you invited me.
Yeah, I think like a lot of the bike races that I've been to, if you're not in like the pro class, it's usually pretty low key, and it's just people out there having fun.
Yeah, so, why'd we go into the pro class?
Well, because I think we would have cleaned up if we'd been in the B, because there were only 3. They're A, B, and C, and I think that we would have just like.
I have no idea, but actually I think the real reason was because they only offer an award of money to the people who are in the A class. So that's really why we did it. We just wanted to get rich.
The $100.
They gave away $150.
The total prices.
The winner got $150, and then $75 to the second place, and the third place got $25. But
I guess it'll be a bit before we quit our day jobs to go professionally race. Right.
First, we have to start winning, and then we have to find races that pay.
Technicalities. Yeah, so that was a lot.
No, it was fun. I liked it.
Yeah, and if you have any fat bike race series around you, usually like the people who are out fat biking are, they're in it just to have fun out and get exercise out in the winter, and it's not as serious. From what I found, so. All right, let's see. Well, let's talk about our next subject.
Okay.
And my wife is in the room, so hopefully she'll just close her ears and not listen to how much we spend on bikes. How much do we spend on mountain bikes? Let's talk about the cost of getting into biking. So you've actually run some numbers, right? And you have some spreadsheets.
So I got a used bike. It was probably 2 or 3 years old back when I got it. And I got it for 4 years ago. And I love that bike and I'd like to get a new bike, but I just didn't set aside a big chunk of money, and I couldn't convince my wife that it was a good time. And so this year, I've had this bike for 3.5 years. This year, everything broke down on the bike, but I didn't know it was going to. Otherwise, I would have just convinced my wife that now would be a good time to buy a new bike. So, I thought, for one thing, I hate having to repair something twice. And but I didn't realize this was going to happen. So the master cylinder on one of my brakes was going out. So, okay, let's replace the master cylinder. The shop that did that just replaced it happily, and we went along. Then the next one starts going out, and I go to that shop. They're busy, so I go to another shop, and they say, well, what? This set of, and you're probably going to be horrified, elixirs are awful, and you really should just get rid of them. These things are breaking down, and they're dying on you. They're not going to last. So on that brake, I was like, okay, sure. We'll put on a new set of brakes, or a new, rear brake. So I did that, and then, of course, the master cylinder goes out on the other side, and so I had to do those. So just all kinds of things, brakes, and I got new wheels because I busted my wheel, and
oh yeah, because you actually had the spokes pull through the rim,
it ripped
right?
It was ripping a hole in the rim. It was crazy.
That was not a cheap fix.
Yeah, so always fixing my derailleur hanger. I just need to buy a tool and do that myself. Cable housing always going out on me. so bad. My seat dropper, I had to get that rebuilt. I got my front shock rebuilt. My rear shock, I got a tune-up on it, and I really wish they had told me that this shock is like not even really supported anymore, because it immediately after the tune-up it starts leaking oil. I go back in and they say, oh well, that just means you need to send it back to Fox. So then I went to another shop about a month ago, and I was like, hey, here's this shock, can you just repair it, because they can do some of the more intense stuff. They looked at it and they said, you know what, you're gonna have to get a new air can. So they start pricing out air cans. They're not even like selling them anymore, so they have to like hunt them down. So expensive. So it was honestly just a few bucks more just to get a new rear shock. So I am.
So what's the grand number? How far?
I had $1,800
for last year.
Okay, $1,450 for last year,
and then
this year I just got my bike out of the shop and spent another $400 on a shock and on the pivot kit replacement for the bearings. So
yeah,
I should have just put that toward a new bike.
Yeah, but how do you know? So like, because you have a lot of regular maintenance stuff. Because I had my shock service this last year. That was like $100 to get the front and rear shock service. Then like new tires, and I got a slash in one of my tires. And on my plus bike, they're like $60 a piece. Let's see, chain. I had to replace chains on both mountain bikes and road bike. Because if you have a road bike, you multiply this all by 2.
If you fat bike
times 3. So what are your big, like, has mountain biking been more expensive than you've thought? Because I think that you don't realize until you go back, and my wife is willing to, she's giving me a glare. She's willing to like point out like, well, I think it's more expensive than you think it is. Because look at all these things that add up. So. Yeah. So I think sometimes we get into the sport and we only save up for the big bike expense, and we don't plan for the maintenance that comes after.
Well, and I wonder, like, there are a lot of people in the industry who will do they get the pro deal and stuff, and so they just basically recycle their bike every year. That's the purpose of the pro deal program. That's the way to do it, maybe. Just always sell your new bike at the end of the year. I've seen people doing that all the time.
It just costs because usually you can get maybe like for a $5,000 bike, you could sell it for $4,000 after a year. And $1,000, I don't know. So, and that brings up another point. There's actually a really good used bike market out there, right?
Yeah.
So I had my brother-in-law, he has this old bike frame, and he's like, I want to rebuild this bike. And it's from maybe 2011, 2012.
Okay.
And I was looking at it, I'm like, well, this is maybe an entry-level bike, but by the time you've replaced all the components on it, you might as well have just, like, if you want to get into a sport, just go out and buy a used bike that has all these components already on it. So...
Yeah, so maybe if someone wants to invent, like, a bike lease program, like they have the car lease program, maybe I'd join that. I don't know. So...
Yeah.
But here's the question, right? Is it worth it?
Is it worth it?
I have had so much fun. I had so much fun in 2017. Rode so many more trails than I'd ever ridden. I beat the bike up. I beat it up.
Yeah.
It's a short travel bike. I'm doing probably stuff that you should be doing with a mid travel bike.
Definitely. you jump off of anything that has any sort of lift. So well, and here's a question: like, so how many hours did you spend last year biking?
Oh,
do you know that?
Hours.
Because I know last year, let's see.
191 hours.
I think that's about how much time I spent on a bike too. So that's what, like $10 an hour?
Hey, I feel great, and I love how I feel when I bike, and I love my life, right? Because I have all these adventures all the time. I love it.
I guess that costs. So it doesn't show. I have a scar here from last year.
Yeah.
And I guess the cost doesn't include medical bills.
Have
you had any bad wrecks this last year?
This year wasn't too bad. I definitely had wrecks and I got hurt, but it wasn't as bad as years in the past where I tore my ACL. That was my worst thing ever.
That would be an expensive one. Have you guys had expensive bike wrecks? Because I know, and on the road bike, I know people who won't even ride on the road because they've had terrible accidents. And I don't blame him because I have a friend who was hit from behind in a hit and run.
That's awful.
And he couldn't walk for like a year and a half, right? And that's terrible. Like I understand. Like road biking is one of those. In my mind, road biking is more risky than mountain biking.
It's bigger risks less frequently.
Yeah,
honestly, is what it is.
I think in mountain biking too, you're able to control your risk a little bit more, right?
Yeah,
maybe not go so fast.
But
back to the beginning.
Strava is pushing
Strava,
you to
true.
try and get better times.
True.
So,
true.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, let's see. Fun, de-stress. Yeah.
I do want to say, like, since my worst injury, the ACL tear, I got into climbing. So I love climbing.
Mm-hmm.
And
As in climbing on a bike.
Yeah, on my bike. Yeah. So and this year I did over 200,000 vertical feet, which is so much fun to me.
Yeah.
So I love coming down and I love going up now. And it took an injury for me to realize that. So I'm thankful.
Yeah, and I think that like it may come off that we only focus on the downhill sometimes. Like, and I think a lot of bikers are like that. Because like my dad, when we were talking about the wilderness area, he's like, "Oh, all you care about is coming down," and I don't blame him for thinking that, but I do enjoy climbing too, because that's a big part. I mean, you spend
way more time climbing.
You might climb for an hour and then descend for 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So you spend a lot more time doing that. So yeah, I think it's totally worth it. We wouldn't be here
it's worth it
if it wasn't worth it.
But try and look at your bike and see if it needs more maintenance. I should have been maintaining my shock along the way. There are other things. Like, you're better about that than me. You're more of a mechanic than
I do more of my own work, which saves a little bit of money.
Yeah. So.
And if you invest in a tool, then you can make the same repair 10 times, which, like for the derailleur hanger, I have a straightener that was like $70.
We should get together.
And I've prevented replacing 10 derailleurs.
Nice.
So anyway. All right. Well, thanks. I think this is it. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for the comments. And we'll see you next week.
All right.
See ya.